Are you a mushroom? Have you been stuffed full of rhetoric being served up as truth, tolerance, and choice? Are you happy being kept in the dark about what's really happening behind these feel-good expressions? Perhaps you've heard the expression right to reproductive health care or freedom of choice. When it comes to abortion, have you ever asked yourself what a woman is actually choosing? Whatever the case, every year millions of lives are dramatically impacted by abortion. If you're faced with the choice to keep, abort, or place for adoption an unwanted pregnancy, what choice is it really? What are the freedoms? What are the costs? Let's dig a little deeper. Don't be a mushroom, and don't be kept in the dark.
Hi, honey. How you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm doing pretty good. I miss you guys. How's my baby sister doing?
Well, Sarah, that's kind of why I'm calling. I need to talk to you about your little sister.
Why? What's going on? Did something happen?
Megan's pregnant.
What? Are you serious? I mean, she didn't even tell me.
I just found out myself. Oh, Sarah, she's only 15 years old. How's she going to take care of a baby? She's just too young. I really hate to say this, but she can't have it.
Mom, what are you saying? Wait, Mom, are you talking about abortion?
It'll ruin her
Mom,
life.
I get what you're saying, I really do, but I mean, you gave us a good life, and even if you hadn't been able to, I mean, you wouldn't have aborted us, would you?
No, of course not, but this is different. This is Megan.
Well, besides, abortion's dangerous. I heard about a girl just last week who died from an abortion. I mean, is it even safe?
I don't know.
I mean, there are other options. There have to be. I mean, let's not be rushing into this. Please promise me you'll at least think about it.
Okay, all right, I promise.
I've got to go. I'll call you later.
Hi, this is Ana Banderas of Live Action, and we're answering arguments for abortion. Let's watch this quick clip of Hillary Clinton.
I believe abortion should be safe, legal, and rare.
That abortion should be kept safe, legal, and rare is a common slogan. As an active pro-lifer, you'll hear it often. It sounds like a great compromise on the pro-choicers' part, but there are a few things I'd like to clarify. While abortion is legal, it can never be safe, and it is not rare. It can never be safe because in every successful abortion, an innocent person dies. There is no safe way to kill a person. Abortion is not safe for women either. It often brings emotional and physical complications. Abortion is also not rare. There are 1.2 million abortions every year, out of which less than 2% are because of rape. That means that in the United States alone, every 26 seconds a child will die from abortion.
It's not like it's a baby yet, right? It's just a blob of tissue.
During fertilization, the sperm joins with the egg to form one cell. This single cell has its own DNA, the complex genetic makeup for every detail of a new human being. After fertilization, nothing new is added but oxygen, nutrition, and time. During the first month, foundations of the brain, spinal cord, and nervous system are already established, and by day 21, the heart begins to beat in a regular fashion. During the second month, the baby begins to swallow and sometimes hiccups. Fingers and toes are developing, and at 7 weeks, the chest and abdomen are fully formed. Unique fingerprints are evident and never change. The baby now sleeps, wakes, and exercises her muscles. By the end of the month, all the organs and systems of her body are fully functioning. By the end of the 4th month, the baby is 8 to 10 inches long and weighs about 1/2 pound. She can hear her mother's heartbeat as well as external noises like music. In the 5th month, sound is especially loud. The baby may jump in reaction to it. She is growing rapidly in size and strength while her lungs become more developed. The baby can now recognize her mother's voice. She stretches and kicks, she can hear, touch, and taste, and even look around with open eyes. The baby's kicks are stronger, and mom may be able to feel an elbow or heel against her abdomen. Gaining 1/2 pound per week, the baby is getting ready for birth. The bones in her head are soft and flexible to more easily mold for the journey down the birth canal. Of the 45 generations of cell divisions before adulthood, 41 have already taken place. 90% of a person's development happens in the womb.
Wow, I really thought it was just a clump of cells. I didn't realize it actually looked like a baby. But that doesn't make her problem go away. Can't abortion fix that? But still, what if a woman just doesn't want to have a baby right now? What if it's going to ruin her life? What if she just can't take care of a baby and both of them end up having a terrible life? I mean, how is that fair?
I was 18 and pregnant. I thought I had to have an abortion in order to make something out of my life. My best friend drove me to the abortion clinic. When it was my turn, the nurse told me that I was going to feel some discomfort, like strong menstrual cramps. The truth is that the abortion was more pain than I've ever felt in my life. It felt like my insides were literally being sucked out of my body. Later, I went into shock. After the abortion, I attempted to make up for it by trying to get pregnant again. I wanted my baby back, but I never got pregnant again. I don't know if I can ever have another baby. 2.5 years later, I ended up in the hospital with bulimia. I felt like no one had ever punished me for what I'd done, so I was punishing myself. I was obsessed with other women who were pregnant, and my life was in shambles. What I didn't know was that I was suffering from post-abortion trauma. When I was 21, I got the help I needed, and now I help others. Please, don't make the same mistake I did.
I was interested in the surgical aspect of medicine, and my drawing toward gynecology was because I could identify with the woman. I was first introduced to abortion in my residency. As a first-year resident, we were invited to start performing abortions. We were given a choice, and among 12 residents in the program, one resident declared that she would not participate in performing abortions. When I first went into the abortion suite, I could see abortion for what it really is. I had to separate myself from interaction with the woman. By the second time I entered the abortion suite, that desensitization had already begun. I no longer saw fetal parts. I now saw products of conception. The incentive is money. It's dirty work, it's ugly work. Physicians really don't like it. A typical abortion procedure starts with the woman being sedated, but she is awake. And she is able to feel some degree of pain during the procedure. The first part of the procedure involves dilation of the cervix, which is an unnatural event because the cervix is meant to be closed. So forceful dilation occurs to enlarge the canal sufficient enough to allow a suction cannula to be introduced into the uterus, which then suctions out the uterine cavity into a collection bottle. Of course, the woman feels pain during the procedure, but one of the things from my experience, this is where the assistant comes in that quickly could silence the woman during the procedure to make it easier for the abortionist to continue the procedure. They make it clear to the woman that we're doing you a favor, and if you want this job done, you better cooperate with the doctor. So it's kind of a rough type of treatment. The assistant stands behind the patient, and if the patient is writhing too much or crying out too much, you know, it's a yelling kind of thing. You know, it's not pleasant. She shut up so that the doctor could finish his job, because remember, we're doing you a favor. That's the attitude. Well, as I reflect on my journey as an abortion provider to where I am now, I recognize that I had completely become inhumane. And I had to undergo a process of rehumanization to where I could see the woman and see her pain, to where I could recognize the basic tenet of the medical profession and the Hippocratic Oath is first do no harm. You know, I could recognize that I was doing harm not just to the mother, but of course I was taking a human life. So in order to recognize that, I had to become a human being again. The psychological impact is great and grossly underestimated. Women never forget their abortion. That pain lives with them for life.
It was a week-long horror of a roller coaster ride when my then fiance found out that she was pregnant. I was terrified. I wanted an escape hatch. I wanted out, any way out. I mean, although I said I would support her, I was really trying to find that escape hatch. I don't remember how I finally changed her mind. I mean, it took about a week, but I did it. At the clinic, I waited with one of her friends outside smoking, and I remember driving her home thinking, thank God that's over. The child would be about 13 or 14 years old now. When I look at our two children, I know there ought to be 3. I don't know if the baby was going to be a boy or a girl. I keep thinking it was a girl, probably because my wife wanted one so badly. And although I still struggle with depression and guilt, I eventually found forgiveness. My wife isn't ready to take that step yet, so I continue to try and help her bear that burden and make up for the crucial time I failed her.
You know, it's not like I think abortion is a good thing. I mean, I think abortion is actually pretty terrible, really. But in some cases, isn't it necessary? I mean, like, what about rape? You can't expect a woman to carry and give birth to the baby of a rapist, can you?
Growing up, I had a sense that abortion was wrong, and I felt that, but I didn't feel it as strongly as when I was walking down my junior high school hallway with a couple of girlfriends, and we were talking about the abortion issue. And all of us were saying, you know, I don't really like it. It's just something about it is not good. And one of the girls said, I don't really like abortion, but we have to keep it legal for cases of rape and incest. And the moment she said that, I turned to her and I felt very pierced to the heart. And I said, that's how I was conceived. And I watched their faces completely change. And that's when I knew that this story was meant to be told.
At the time, I was literally homeless, motherless, jobless, penniless, 18 years old, a teenager, pregnant by rape, and I have a physical disability that is incurable. And I had been told that I was the perfect candidate for an abortion. And when people started hearing about it, I wasn't saying anything. I kept it to myself, and out of fear and especially shame. And at the time, I didn't say anything to people, and they had all kinds of assumptions. And I was suffering that persecution, but I stayed silent. And I was hearing things like, you can't be a mother. You know what you have to do. And even someone had offered me money to abort the baby. And I just knew by the flutterings within me, I knew because my body was changing, I understood, even in my ignorance and my fear, I understood this was a child. And I remember being about 18 weeks along in my pregnancy, and I remember sleeping on somebody's couch, and I was very restless. I couldn't sleep, so I went to the window, and I heard a voice within me, and it said, "This daughter is sacred and of God. This child is destined for great good." And at the time, 18 years old, I didn't understand what destined meant. I don't know what great good is. I just knew I was suffering and I was miserable. And June 14th, 1975, I gave birth to a beautiful, dark-haired, blue-eyed baby girl. I have no regrets under any circumstances. It was worth the difficulty and the unknowing. And now I'm a grandma, a very happy grandma. And so to me, my daughter's children are solid proof that we are here to help each other, to love each other, and to forward on to the next generation.
Okay. But what about overpopulation? Overpopulation is an F-A-C-T fact. Everyone knows there are way too many people on this planet already.
The myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s. And the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house with a yard and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years and then start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math.
Okay, so maybe there really is enough room in the world. But what if she doesn't want a baby in her world? What's she supposed to do? Give it away?
I've heard women say there's no way I could just give my baby away. If I can't raise it, I'm not just gonna let someone else do it. But really the joy of adoption is that you are raising your child. You're choosing the life for them, you're choosing to give them love. You get to choose the family that you want your child to be raised in. We're a large family. We have 9 children, and 5 of them came to us biologically, and 4 of them were adopted. I guess you could say that they grew in my heart.
So they range in age from 20 down to 5. We have Bob, Liz, Jim, and Chuck. We're all biological. And then Jenny we adopted when she was a year old from Guatemala. She's 14 now. And then we have Maggie. 12. And then we have a gap, and then we have 3 children that we adopted who have Down syndrome. Their ages 7, 6, and 5.
Some people adopt because they're unable to have children. For us, it was a different story.
I had an older brother that had Down syndrome growing up. It is the best thing that ever happened to our family, and so we decided to adopt a child with Down syndrome. And so now that we have Ricky, our oldest with Down syndrome, I mean, that's the glue to our family, because he teaches everybody how to love. There are long lists of waiting lists of people who want to adopt, and when you look at the statistics of those who are waiting to adopt them, most of them either have a sibling that has Down syndrome or they work with somebody with Down syndrome. So they know what they're getting into, and that's something that they want for their own families.
It's said that at any given point, there's at least 200 families waiting to adopt in the United States a child with Down syndrome. And that's just through one organization that does that. When a woman receives a diagnosis of maybe Down syndrome or some other condition, they're so focused on that diagnosis, and it's really hard to love a diagnosis, but it's very easy to love your child. I wholeheartedly beg you that if you're in a situation where you feel like you're not able to provide for your child, that you consider adoption. It's just an absolutely heroic decision. And I look at each one of my kids, and I just can't imagine life without any one of them.
Being a part of this family, I don't feel any different from everybody else. They treat me the same, they love me the same as everybody. My birth mother, while she was thinking this, she was thinking about love for me, and she wanted the best chance for me.
Adding anybody to your family teaches you how to love people more.
I can't thank the birth mothers enough, the birth fathers enough for making the choice to choose us to be able to raise that child for the rest of the life, and we're so grateful.